Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, guess what? You did it. You did it again. You had to just hit that play button on another episode of V8 Radio, and here we are. All thanks to you. I'm Kevin Oster, your host. As always, joined by our esteemed co-host, Mr. Mike Huball Clark, for yet another
Crinkum Crankum episode of V8 Radio, Kevin.
Crinkum Crankum.
That's right.
Oh, I love the sound of that. That sounds like a character from some 50s animated, holiday special or something. What does Crinkum Crankum mean?
That is a word from an English word from the 18th century, meaning something that's full of twists and turns.
Crinkum Crankum it is. Well,
no particular reason for that overselling adjective at all. I mean, there's really nothing going on.
No, right.
No, I mean, it's pretty much business as usual.
Yes, and we were discussing before the show started that, generally our show prep, if you will, is pretty minimalistic on this show, but this time it's like zero. So there will be some crinkums and some crankums for sure.
Right on.
Oh, man, lots to cover. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure there will be lots to cover. And before we get started on this particular show, those of you who've listened before know that we tend to start these off with an automotive-esque trivia question. And Mikey, do you have one? Did you prepare a trivia question?
I certainly do have a trivia question today, Kev, and here we go. All right. We've all heard of cable TV.
I have.
But what, Kevin? Yeah.
I've seen it.
But in automotive terms, what is a TV cable?
Oh, how about that? That's a crinkum crankum trivia question.
Oh, you see what I did? I crinked you, then I cranked you.
Yes, my crankum has been cranked. Oh, that's outstanding. I mean, you win this trivia question thing just for that. I got to hand it
Thanks. All right, winner.
Yeah.
And thanks very much for listening, folks.
See you next time.
Next time.
Okay, so the TV cable is a cable connection that goes from the transmission to the throttle lever on a carburetor or on a throttle body. Excuse me. And it stands for throttle valve cable, and what it means is it controls basically the shifting characteristics of a mechanically controlled automotive overdrive transmission. So your 700R4 GM or your Ford AOD both have a form of a TV cable. I think so. That's my guess.
All that, and it ends with, I think.
I also think that if you do not have your TV cable set, especially in Ford applications, if it's not proper, you can destroy a brand new automotive transmission like a Ford AOD within 7 blocks.
Oh, ouch.
I think.
Allegedly.
Yeah, don't ask me how I think I know that one.
Well, right on. All right. So Kevin says it stands for throttle valve, and it connects your transmission to your throttle body on your vehicle or carburetor. Is that about right?
That's about right. I think.
All right. We think, allegedly, that's correct. We'll see. We'll find out later on in the show.
Right. It provides that little extra amount of crinkum crankum that our transmissions need to function properly.
Indeedly doodly.
Listeners, I'm sorry. I'm just telling you right now.
Got him.
It's going to be one of those shows. Oh, man. All right. Well, you're a Pontiac guy.
Oh, there we go.
Today I found myself driving one of our customers' vehicles that we had performed some high-performance upgrades on, and I noticed an interesting badge on the dashboard. And this is... I'm going to give you 2 ways to go with this. This is like the equivalent of a choose-your-own-adventure.
Oh, I loved those books when I was a kid.
So you can, A, either tell me what this means that I'm going to ask you.
Uh-huh.
Or B, you can tell me where it's found.
Okay.
Okay. So what I'm referring to is a badge on the dashboard that said RTS.
RTS.
And then it had a few words after that. The words would give it away. But if you can tell me what the RTS badge was, what it means, that's one adventure you could have.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you could tell me on what vehicles this was found on, that's the other adventure.
Oh.
How about that? That's a little crinkum and a crankum.
Oh, wow. I might crank that answer. Let's see.
Bonus
here.
points if you crink a crank.
Yeah, well, let's do it then.
The Clampett brothers.
Here we go. I have seen that badge.
Crank.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Attention V8 radio listeners. We interrupt this episode because at this point of our program, someone on the V8 radio team had a slip of the tongue, resulting in a comment deemed inappropriate for the family nature and wholesome goodness of V8 radio. While we will not be sharing the comment, we felt the ensuing raging laughter was just too good not to share, especially at a time when everyone could use a good laugh. We now return you to the show. Hope you enjoy the laughs. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, heavens to Betsy, that was beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, man. All right. All right, so RTS. Yes.
As a matter of fact, I have seen that before on a Pontiac, and I have even owned a few that have had that badge on it. So what RTS is, it stands for radial tuned suspension.
Oh,
and
it could.
Yeah, big words from a big man. And what that meant was the suspension was balanced and tuned to make a your radial tire equipped vehicle drive straight and true down the road and have a good compliant ride. So that is what RTS is.
Wow. And do you want to go for the crank side of that and explain where that was found and when?
Oh, well, on the car I had that had that, actually I had two cars that had it. I had a 76 Le Mans station wagon, and it was on the dash, I believe I think it was right above the steering column is where that badge was located. Either right above the steering column or just off to the right a little bit. But it was prevalent on the dash and easy to see, and it was kind of a selling feature for the car. Does that suffice your crank?
Well, what was the other car you had? I was looking for more. What vehicles did this feature?
Oh, well, any car equipped with radial tires from the factory would have that. So my 76 Le Mans had it, and my 77 Formula had it. Both equipped with radial tires from the factory.
I'm noting
but
this.
My 66 Le Mans did not because it came with bias ply tires. Mm-hmm. Likewise with both of my GTOs.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, if that's your final answer, then that's what we'll go with.
I think, allegedly, that's correct.
Right on.
That's my alleged final answer.
Okay. Duly noted.
Dig it.
All right. Well, seeing that you've already provided that answer, I will share the vehicle that I was driving.
Oh,
which was a 79 Pontiac Firebird Formula.
Ooh.
Which came to the shop from the great state of Ohio, of all places.
Oh.
And
my home state.
That's it. This came from the northeastern part of Ohio, I believe. And our customers own this for a long, long time. It's a beautiful car. It's red. Bottom side is as clean as the top. And it's got a built big inch Pontiac V8. And it's got a Turbo 400 with a gear vendor overdrive already installed. And
wow.
We did a Holly Sniper fuel injection with a dual sync distributor, so we're controlling timing on that one.
Oh, cool.
Which is very cool. Trevor wrote the timing map for that and put a MagnaFlow exhaust system on it because it was a little bit droney in the car with what he had.
Uh-huh.
And now that smoothed out quite a bit. And it's cool. It's on, I think, a Krager wheel, but it's got BFG radial TA tires that have some years on them. They're not worn out. They're just time aged. So they're kind of hard.
Yeah.
Which means this thing also has like a 3,000 stall converter in it, and it will just annihilate these tires.
Yeah,
just even thinking about it. So
yeah.
It's a fun car. It's beautiful. We restuffed the front seats and put new covers on them, did new door panels in our interior shop, put some new weather strip in it. But it's super clean, and it was a nice car to work on. It didn't fight us. Everything kind of played along,
nice.
and now you just turn that key and it lights right off, and it does what it's supposed to do. So I was driving it today to put a few test miles on it to make sure that everything is functioning the way it's supposed to. And I noticed that badge, and I went, there's some trivia in there somewhere.
Yeah, man. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool stuff. Mm-hmm. Sounds like a beautiful car.
It is. It's very nice. There's pictures of it on our website.
Is there? Okay.
Under the photo galleries. Yeah. And we're going to shoot a little video on that one, too.
Nice.
So, yeah. So the rest of the elephant in the room is, as we record this, we are under the coronavirus ramifications for the world, and quite frankly, it sucks for everybody, but we're all trying to kind of make the best of this whole situation. Your world has changed quite a bit.
Yes, it has. My company has transformed into a completely work-at-home company, except for, of course, field personnel, people who are customer-facing, are still expected to go out and, on a limited basis, perform service tasks, only if they're customer-initiated. Mm-hmm. So typically, these guys could do courtesy calls and go in and do a cleaning. We can't do that anymore. They've been issued gloves. They have to, maintain certain distance from people and, follow all the guidelines that the CDC has set down for to minimize possible transmission of this dastardly virus.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I mean, we're in kind of a unique spot because technically our shop's in Illinois, and the governor of Illinois last week issued a decree saying that, all non-essential businesses are closed. And you can leave your house to go to the grocery store or the doctor or whatever, but you're supposed to stay inside. And non-essential businesses, are subject to this. Essential businesses are, obviously healthcare and essential services. But in our case, we're an automotive restoration shop. But under the guidelines of the Department of Homeland Security, we kind of fit under automotive repair, right? And granted, we're not a general repair facility. We don't fix people's cars, broken fan belts and water pumps and stuff. However, we have the capability to do that. We do that on old cars and classic cars.
Mm-hmm.
So I was, consulting with Kelly on this, saying, what are we going to do here? Is it our number one priority was to make sure our team was safe and our customers are safe and we don't spread this dastardly virus, as you called it.
Mm-hmm.
And what we ended up finding out is that in the state of Illinois, there's a thing called the Illinois Automotive Repair Act, which governs automotive repair facilities. And we, as a restoration shop, fall under those guidelines, even though I don't really want to, because those are more for your general repair shop. But in the past, we've had questions about this, and it's always come up that, well, you guys fall under the Illinois Automotive Repair Act, which means we are technically an essential service, right? So my mission through all this is to keep our team safe and to hopefully keep business moving along as normal. And as long as we have customers who are desiring our services and want us to continue to work on their cars, then we should, if we can be safe about it, we should probably do that. Because there are a lot of businesses that are closing down or are laying people off, and those are negative effects on the economy, on these people's livelihoods. And that's the last thing I want to do, is have a negative impact on our team. So we decided to take some safety precautions. We closed our doors to the general public. We've trained our team to be 6 or 7 feet away from each other at all times, to wash their hands. They're taking lunch in place instead of joining everybody at the lunch table. And they all have the freedom, if they don't feel well or they don't like this situation, they can go home without penalty and ride this out. But they've all chosen, the technicians anyway, to come to work because they want to focus on what they're doing. It's a nice way to kind of mentally stay in tune and not freak out about all this stuff. And they all feel safe. They're washing their hands and staying those safe distances away. And luckily, our customers have all wanted to continue with the services, and we haven't had anybody that is scaling back on the projects, because I think they're looking at their projects as an escape themselves. They want these things done so that they can get their life back to normal. We've set up a system where all the deliveries happen outside the building. The parts get dropped off. There's no human contact. And then they come in, after a small period of time, and we've instructed our team to take their temperatures before they come to work, and really just exercise every precaution possible.
Sure.
And we're doing this day by day. And Joe, our sales guy, is talking to new customers continuously. We've got new cars coming in. We got one coming in tomorrow, and we got 2 next week, and got a couple others going home. So it's definitely not business as usual, but we're doing everything we can to kind of keep some sense of protected, safe normalcy in our lives, because I think that's kind of what's needed.
It really is. It really is. You don't want the hysteria to take over your life. You need a bit of normalcy. Even throughout everything that seems like it's upside down, you need to maintain as level head as possible through all this, and just not give in to the craziness that you see either on the news programs or from other people. You need to know that it's a real thing, but as long as you maintain safety precautions, your chances of contracting this are pretty low.
It's hard to say. I mean, nobody really knows. Our concern was that we didn't want others in our community to think that we were being reckless, that we were defying the orders of stay at home. And we're really not, again, because
you're not.
We technically fall into this category that we're okay to work. And working, I think, is the best thing for us, for our customers, for the community, especially in a heightened level of safety and concern. So that's kind of where we're at. And I just hope that, this curve does kind of flatten out and things start to turn around. We've gone over some things that our team needs to be aware of in their own, their own health situations, their body temperature, because realistically, from what I've learned, the only way to catch this thing is to let these particles get into your mouth or your nose.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you keep distance and wear masks and
Mm-hmm.
wash your hands and don't touch your face and wash your face and drink lots of warm liquids and all that stuff. So every advantage we can give our team, we're giving them. Again, with the ultimate caveat that if they just don't want to be there, they can go home. There's no, we're not making anybody do anything, but they're all choosing to play along. So
well, I think that's great. I mean, everybody would like to stay open. I'm sure everybody wants to be productive, and if you can be, then you should be.
Yes,
as long as you maintain, proper precautions. I don't see a problem with it.
Right, we're not a bunch of Generation Z nutheads on the beach. Is that what they call them? Gen Z? Is that?
I guess
the millennials got all mad about it because they're like, "No, we're past that."
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're not the dummies anymore.
No,
God, dang it.
Just a few bad apples spoil the whole generation, I guess.
That's true.
So,
oh man,
I've been kind of splitting my time because a lot of my functions in our business are in the digital world. They're online. They're editing video. They're doing promotional items and interacting with customers, which I don't necessarily have to be in the building to do. But at the same time, you don't want one of the owners of the company to not be there in a crisis situation when you're asking or offering the others to be there. So when I'm there, I try to be effective, but not risky to the rest of the team. And so far, I think they appreciate that, which is good.
Good.
So, I at the end of the day, analyzing all this, there's an economic impact, obviously, but I don't think that this is akin to the 2008 economic crisis. This isn't a system where lenders were overzealous and people were biting off more than they could chew and home loans and all that. Our economy was doing quite well, and it got sick. This is a freak thing, and I have to believe that it will recover in much the same way. All of the systems were in place. Things were going along pretty well. Once people are comfortable again, and there's some cure. Cure is a strong word, but some things that people can do to remedy sicknesses or prevent them, and things start to level out. I truly believe that our economic system will kind of come right back. I think there's going to be some consumer trepidation. I think they're going to be a little bit reluctant to have a high level of consumer confidence right away. But I think over time it will come back because, again, nobody wanted this. This wasn't everybody getting ripped off or some systemic predatory lending Ponzi scheme. Banks weren't going under. This is just holy crap. We got taken out at the knees, but we'll get back on our feet. So.
I agree with every point. Absolutely.
I hope so.
And not to derail it too much, but I'm looking at this 79 Formula, and that is a sweet car. The beautiful tan interior with the dual gate shifter.
Oh, yeah.
Woo.
So you found that on the website?
Yeah.
The dual gate shifter, and it's got a 50th anniversary NASCAR shift ball on it?
Yeah. Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah, did you see the underside pictures? It's super, super clean. I mean, the subframe's painted and the bottom side and everything. It's a neat car.
It is a neat car. I love it. Ooh-wee. Yeah. Dynamite.
We've been, kind of F-body central recently. And in addition to this 79 Formula, we also brought in a 72 Formula 455 HO 4-speed car the other day.
Yes, I saw that. That thing is so cool. Trevor sent me a picture of it. Oh my gosh, I'm in love with it. I'm in love with it.
And it's a great car with a great story. So the owner had one new, a Lucerne Blue 72 Formula 455 HO car, 4-speed. But when he had a new one, it had air conditioning, it had Rally 2s, it had spoilers, air dams. And he's been looking for another one ever since the 80s or so when he sold it. He had to get rid of it.
Man.
Life happened. Well, now he can afford another one. So he found this car. And the one that he just bought, which is the one in our shop, is, I think, it's like the pinnacle of that style. It's got 15-inch steel wheels with dog dish caps.
Yes.
It's got Goodyear F60, GT tires on it, bias plies with the block lettering. It's a 4-speed. It does not have spoilers. It does not have the lower front chin spoiler on it. It is just a basic, raw, non-AC animal of a car. And I'm a little conflicted because he wants his old car. So he found some NOS and General Motors parts to add those Pontiac options to this car.
Oh.
So he wants us to do the chin spoiler and the rear spoiler and convert it to AC using all GM stuff. Which, I guess it's okay to a degree because it's funny because you say, well, you don't want to ruin the value because it's restored, but it's correct. And if you change the correctness, you diminish the value. However, this guy already paid the premium value for the car. So the value has been realized already.
I see.
And now it's his to do whatever he wants. And
yeah, true.
He would take those wheels off and put them on the shelf and put the Rally 2s on it. And he would, take the heater box and put it on the shelf. And we actually have a 73 Firebird in the shop that's a factory air car that is willing to donate its GM AC system to this other car.
Is that right?
Yeah. The only real challenge right now is the firewall slightly different because of the hole.
Yeah, you got to cut a big hole in there.
Right. So we're looking at options on what the best route to do there is. Companies like Classic Industries sell a new firewall, AC and non-AC. We might just take a piece of one of those and tack it in and
I see.
Call it a day. But I was talking with our friend Terry McGeehan at Hemmings Muscle Machines magazine today about that particular car. And he was pointing out some interesting details on it that I did not know. For example, the lower valance in the front is plastic on the 72 HO Formula 455 cars. And apparently there was some manufacturing challenge because they wanted these two little slits underneath the bumper for airflow and for style. And they could not get that panel to stamp properly in steel. The steel ones have a much bigger opening. The downside to the steel one is that bigger opening shows you things that the Pontiac designers didn't want you to see through the hole.
Okay.
So they made a bunch of them in plastic, and this one has the plastic one. So that's pretty cool. But it's correct down to the orange paint mark on the rear end and all the stuff underneath. And
man.
Yeah. And it was a neat experience because the customer came to us before the car was purchased, and he said, "Hey, I'm thinking about buying this car." And I said, "Where is it?" And he said, "It's in Southern California." And I was able to tap my old friend Rob Canan, who used to be an editor at Hot Rod magazine.
Right.
And Rob Canan went and checked it out and took photographs and drove it and sent us some video and everything, and kind of gave it the thumbs up on buying it. The carburetor number's right, the distributor. I mean, everything is correct on this thing. So after it got shipped to us, talk about kind of relying on the network, if you will. So I used to work with Canan. I then also used to work with Terry McGeehan at Hot Rod, and then myself. So all of us are still kind of in contact with each other, and who wins but the customer, because this guy got a legit car that was kind of vetted by people that know a few things, and it was cool.
Yeah, that you can rely on to tell you the full story, the real story.
Right. As opposed to hiring some guy to go look at it that you don't know or don't trust or doesn't have the knowledge of, working in the car magazine world and all the rest of it. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's real cool. Man, that guy did win. That's crazy.
Yeah, so I think we're going to do some kind of video on that car, Muscle Car of the Week style, feature on it before we change it and add the spoilers and stuff.
Okay.
We have to get a few questions answered because with that plastic lower valance, there's a built-in kind of chin spoiler in that valance. And I don't think the steel ones have that. And I don't know if the fiberglass Pontiac spoiler bolts to that particular valance.
Oh, I see.
So if you're on the website, you can go to vatvshow.com/photos and see that car. It's on the front page of our photo gallery right now. And you'll see that valance like I'm talking about. I never really spent that much time looking at one of those until recently. And it was neat to see.
Sweet. So you couldn't talk the guy into a vintage air, huh?
Well, he wants the OE look, and the car is so correct. I don't really blame him.
I get it. But it takes up a lot of real estate under the hood, though, that the evaporator and all that stuff.
It does.
So,
but again, if it's GM stuff, and it could have come on it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I know it could have come on it.
He's got the PHS documentation on the car, which and build sheets, which say it didn't have that, but it's his and he doesn't care, so.
Sure. Yeah. I'm kind of in the opposite camp. My GTO is a factory air car, and I would love to get rid of all that extra nonsense and just go with a sweet vintage air unit.
Right.
It's still a factory air car. It's just a better AC and a more efficient AC unit, and it kind of cleans up the engine bay a lot, I think.
Well, in your case, you don't care about the correctness as much. So what I would say to you is just keep all that stuff because somebody might want it.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I'm looking at this chin spoiler. Okay, I see the slits you're talking about.
And then look below that. There's like a little...
Yeah, like a little chin spoiler. Yeah, a little molded in body colored chin spoiler there.
It's cool looking.
It's very cool looking.
Yeah.
I never knew that was there before.
Yeah, I didn't either. And now I'm trying to figure out what the term would be if you modify a perfectly stock car with original parts. Is that a resto mod? No. What is it?
I don't know, man.
We're forging new territory here, buddy.
Yeah. a retro mod, maybe?
Could be.
Yeah.
I think you're right, because you're retrofitting and modifying the car, but with OE stuff.
OE stuff.
Yeah.
You're kind of putting your own options on it. Your own factory options.
The choose your own adventure version.
Hey, and we're back.
It's a could have been.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love everything about this 72. Ooh, man.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, the underneath on this one's clean as a whistle too.
Oh, it's a full rotisserie restoration car, and correct with colors and the red oxide bottom side. And yeah, it's neat.
That's great.
And then I think next week we're getting a 10th anniversary 79 Trans Am coming in. And
is that right?
Yeah, he's got some maintenance and things, and I just love that second generation Firebird platform. Not only because they drove really cool, and the earlier ones are my favorite, but to see how that same platform evolved so radically differently by the end of the decade. I love that 79 anniversary car. I love the white pace car versions.
Yeah, with
the bird that goes up the hood and then follows the top of the doors. Yep. The whole top of the car is a different color. I just think those things are awesome.
Yeah.
It's
definitely a very unique look. They're really cool. Yeah. My favorite would be like the 73 Trans Am with the bird on the hood and all that went along with it. But I dug my 77 Formula too. I mean, I love the second gen platform as well.
Yeah. So. Well, we got this red 79 Formula with the two flat scoops,
Yeah, exactly.
Which is an evolution of the early Formula that had the two big snorkel scoops.
Like the 72.
Yeah, it's got that hood, yeah. And then we've also got a blue 78 Trans Am in the shop right now, which looks more like your 77 Formula with that style headlight and and the wheel, the snowflake wheel and everything. And that one came in, the customer bought it somewhere else and was never really happy with, kind of, I guess, how the car performed. So we're going to just go through it and see what it needs and fix a few things on it, but it's kind of a darker blue with the blue hood bird and the blue Trans Am logos. It's a cool car. I really dig all those second gen Firebird cars. So
Yeah.
There's more of them coming to us too, which is great.
Right on. Right on. Yeah, I'll look at all of them. I think they're fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Well, we'll move on to the next piece of the pie here. So the Facebook pages have been pretty active. We got a nice inquiry yesterday by a gentleman named Richard Lippett, who was wondering about some suspension issues he's been having. And from what I gathered, he's got a GTO, right?
Actually, he has a 68 Firebird convertible.
It is a 68 Firebird convertible.
Yeah.
Okay, because he was talking about some GTO crossover with F-body parts.
Correct.
Okay.
That's right.
Well, he, I guess, lowered his Firebird with some drop spindles and put disc brakes on it, and has been having a problem with the wheels rubbing in the fender wells. And at the same time, he upgraded his wheels to I think a 15-inch, like a 15 by 6 or 15 by 7 wheel. He didn't say what wheel he used, and he didn't say what the offset was.
Correct. He didn't. I don't think he knew at the time.
Right. Or the tire size.
Right. Yeah, that's right. He was supposed to go look at that. But he went from a 14 to a 15 because the disc brake conversion required that. I believe it's a Rally. I think, did he say it was a Rally 2?
I don't know that he did. I was trying to focus in on what his problem was, and the problem was that now his tires rub. Right. And he was wondering if it was a better idea to change the drop spindle out or do something else.
Back to the stock height spindle.
Right. And the problem with that is he changed several things at once. He changed the spindle, he changed the wheel, and he also put disc brakes on it. And what that means is, depending on what spindle he put on the car, a drop spindle is an aftermarket spindle, and some of those actually change that relationship of where the tire fits in the wheel well, on the, I would say technically the camber dimension, where the center line of the tire could be pushed further towards the outside of the car.
Right.
And that may have been in play. The next thing is that whenever you add disc brakes, technically you generally add about 1/4 of an inch offset as well, because of the thickness of the rotor and the way they mount. A lot of times there's a little ring that goes onto the spindle itself and kicks everything outboard. So a disc brake car might be a little bit wider of a track than a drum brake car just by doing that conversion. So now he might have two things that pushed his wheels further outboard. Plus, we don't know what offset his wheels were. They're wider, so it's going to have an effect. And we don't know if that was a 0 offset or, if the backspace was, less, pushing that tire further outboard. But what I gathered is that as he was going in and out of driveways or anything that's compressing that suspension, he's rubbing his inner fender or the trim or something. And it's a common thing. And what we've learned is that we like to get the spindle and the brake figured out and then measure for the tire and wheel.
Right.
And then fit them into the hole that you have. Sure. So in his situation, I didn't want to tell the guy to just, no, you need to go buy everything new and start over,
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
he has options at this point. Even if he left, his best course of action would be to measure for proper offset and proper backspacing on another wheel and see if that will fit his needs. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree. If he's going to do anything, it didn't sound like he was really married to that drop spindle.
True. Yeah, I kind of got that same sentiment.
But I also kind of suspected that he did the drop spindle to get the disc brake. So it might all be part of the same thing. Because a lot of times those F-bodies, the spindle, I think what it really comes down to is there's a bolt on the top side of the spindle that bolted the backing plate from the drums to the spindle itself.
Right.
And that's different size than the disc brake bracket.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to convert from drum to disc, you either have to get a disc brake spindle or drill that thing and make it bigger. And
right. I mean, I did the same thing on my GTO. I went from a front drum brakes to front disc brakes, and I bought a kit through Summit Racing. And yeah, it came with a proper disc brake spindle that I had to attach.
Right.
With everything was made for it, and a different master cylinder and a different brake booster. And my brakes still suck, which I still need to get looked at.
Well, there's that.
Yeah. I thought it would fix that, but it didn't.
Yeah.
So
but the other reason why I wanted to mention Mr. Lippitt is he did also bring up a piece of trivia that he claimed that on a first generation Firebird that you can do an easy disc brake conversion if you use an A-body GTO spindle.
Right.
68 to whatever.
72, yeah.
And I don't think that's true. And the reason why I don't think that's true is the 67 first generation 6789 Firebird is a let me get this wrong.
Steering.
It's a front steer, which means the steering arm.
Wait. Actually, I'm looking at the correspondence right now. It says Firebirds are rear steer. First gens. Yeah. GTOs are front steer.
Right. So what that means is the steering arm points towards the windshield, and the linkage is behind the cross member. But on the GTO, that steering linkage points to the front of the car, the steering arms, and the linkage is ahead of the cross member. And I don't know that you can just flip that steering arm or reverse the spindle left to right to get the right connection. And if you flip them, I think you change the geometry and cause some issues.
I see.
So I don't know that that's correct, what he suggested. So I guess the long way is, if I was to try and answer his question, the best thing to do at this point would be probably to keep the spindle and keep the brakes and then measure for a wheel and get the right offset. And that might suck the wheel in a little bit more under the car and avoid that rubbing issue that he's got. But this is what we deal with day in, day out.
Right. Sure. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure maybe even a different tire size would have an effect as well, depending on how high or low the profile is on the tire.
Totally.
So you never know.
But it all comes into a system of compromise. Because if you change the tire size, well, then you might change the rake angle of the car. You might lower the car even further. If he's on a drop spindle, he might lose even more ground clearance.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And that's why it's important to do the homework ahead of time and start with what you've got and kind of measure things out and have a clear goal in mind. So what do you want to do? Do you want disc brakes, or do you want to lower the car, or do you want to do both? And what wheel do you really want? And then try and make all those pieces work together. On a more grand scale, when we're doing a Detroit Speed subframe and a high dollar pro touring car, the worst scenario is if you order the wheels without measuring them and just go by what somebody says, because every single time it will be wrong. So we actually produced a video for Forge Line on how to measure wheels, properly.
Yes, you did.
And you got to get the subframe in place. You got to get the spring. You got to get brake set up and measure all that stuff, and then order the wheels. Because once you put an order in for custom wheels, they're yours.
Yeah, you own them.
Yeah. So it's real tricky, and we're dealing in the world of 1/4 of an inch maybe or less of clearance. With a set of wheels that might be $4,000 or $5,000 on a fully bodyworked, finished, perfect car. Yeah. So you're threading the needle there. So we do have a lot of experience with that. So I guess at the end of the day, if anybody's interested in getting advice on that kind of stuff, to give us a call, and I'll gladly put Trevor on the phone.
Oh, I can hear it now. Yeah. All right, here's what you want to do.
Yeah. That's it.
Love Trevor. He's my favorite. Mm-hmm. Well, good. I'm glad. I hope we're able to help Richard with his issue and
or confuse him further.
Yeah, well, that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, if anyone has any other questions they want us to broach, just drop us a line. You can reach us on the V8 Radio Podcast Facebook page and just throw it out there.
Happy to help.
Mm-hmm. Always.
And interestingly, I never thought I would say this, but I'm having some work done on the Riv.
Oh.
Yeah.
Talk to me.
Yeah. So it needs some maintenance. This time of year, as we record this, it's March. Normally, when it's not COVID-19 crisis time,
right?
I've got my eyes set on the middle or end of April, which is an annual trip that I like to go to Chicago to see some cousins and friends of mine. See yourself. We like to go to an establishment and watch a ball game, if you will.
We go to the bingo parlor at the YMCA.
That's right. I'm not the world's biggest baseball fan, but what I do like about baseball is it generally provides for an atmosphere that's a lot of fun. And I grew up in the Chicago area, so, I'm not the biggest Cubs fan in the world, but the Wrigley Field experience is a lot of fun. But then it got very expensive. So my cousins and I and yourself and a few friends have, for the past however many years, go to one of the bars across from Wrigley Field, have a nice day of it early in the season. I used to go to the home opener, but now we've kind of relaxed that a little bit to make it a Saturday afternoon game. And when I can, I like to drive, a fun car. And our friend Grady, who's also a customer of ours, he's agreed to come along this year, which will be fun.
Oh, sweet.
And we're going to take my 70 Riv. But the Riv needs some maintenance. And I'm to the point in my life where I'm like, I don't have time to do all this right now. There's just so much going on. So Tyler, one of our other technicians in the shop, is going to help me out and do some control arm bushings, some reaction rod bushings, put some brakes in it, put some rear shocks in it. I got some rear axle bearings that are starting to make noise and some seals and just, maintenance type stuff, fluids and whatnot. And he's going to be knocking all that stuff out, which generally I would really enjoy doing. But right now I have to focus on getting it done.
Yeah, right.
And that's what our shop is all about, is getting stuff done.
Sure.
So my hope is that with the car's there now, for the next week or so, he'll be able to knock those items out. And my fingers are crossed that at the end of April, our event will be allowed to happen again. Our country will have reopened, and we'll be able to get together, because that's a fun one.
Yeah, that is a fun one. I've been thinking about that lately, wondering if that's still going to be able to be had. So I do look forward to that trip. It's a great time with you and your cousins and other friends. It's a fun day out in the city.
Yeah.
So
it's a great day.
I hope we can still do it. Yeah, it's great.
It's one of those rare occasions where you just kind of suspend reality for the whole day.
Yeah.
And we get a great breakfast, and then we go to the bar and we have some drinks and eat well. And every once in a while somebody cheers, and that means somebody scored.
Right on.
And then we go to D'Agostino's Pizza in Chicago, which is owned by the D'Agostino family. Of course, our friend Jeff D'Agostino was the lead machinist at Fast Times Motorworks for many, many years.
Right on.
Who built Nick Scavo's race engines and set all kinds of NMCA records with Chuck Samuel and a lot of those guys. And it's neat to see a lot of our racing buddies and car guy friends and just blow off an entire day, and just have fun. And we don't get to do that very often, and I'm aggravated that that might be in jeopardy, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But the good thing is, no matter what, the car will get dialed in before that. So,
you mean that the 1970 Riv that had the original date-coated fan belts on it when you bought it needs some maintenance? Amazing.
Yeah, no kidding. And in fact, We're going to end up changing the original date-coated steering belt, as a matter of fact, because that's still on the car.
Holy cow!
As are the
you
hoses.
Like to live dangerously.
Yeah, the upper and lower radiator hoses are the originals on it, and I've got new ones. And but I take all that junk off and keep it in a box, just because. Of course you do.
That's what you do.
That's what I do. Yeah.
That's right, man.
That car just turned 35,000 miles the other day.
That's insane. What a time capsule.
Yeah, it really is. And it's fun. Even with a completely, it's more of a time worn out front end than a mileage worn out.
Right.
Because we've all seen
crack, they dry out, and just.
But they're still there. It's not like a 300,000 mile neglected car where there's like no bushings in it. These ball joints are probably okay, but we're putting new ones in. And the bushings are still there. They're just kind of shrunken and cracked and stuff. But it still drives great. Even as loose as it is. We're going to change the driver's side window weather strip and leave the passenger. The passenger's fine. It's soft and it works. The driver's side, it's funny. It's an interesting study in the dynamics of the car, because follow along, if you will.
Tell me.
If you get in the car and roll the window up and close the door and start driving, the car is completely silent inside. If you roll the window down while you're driving and roll it back up, it will whistle. Because the pressure inside the vehicle, the air is trying to get out. The more you increase the speed, the more that interior air is trying to get out. And it won't seal enough while the car is in motion. But when the car's stopped, you can seal it enough to where it won't whistle.
Interesting.
Yeah, but at the end of the day...
that door is a frameless door, right?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. All right, that makes total sense then.
And, the cheat would be to take the door panel off and adjust the window to go up just a bit higher, But that's really not the right way to do it. So I've got a new driver's side door weather strip that will seal that, because the car is really quiet. Cool. It's a luxury car, and it just kind of glides down the road to the point where the only noise you really hear is an axle bearing in back that's starting to growl.
Come on.
But I got new ones, and Tyler's up for it, so he'll handle all that. So it's a rare occasion where I'm turning the keys over literally to somebody else. But if you're not comfortable with your own team working on your stuff, you shouldn't be in business. So it's not a situation where I'm not comfortable with them doing it. It's just that I really wanted to do it, but I don't have the time. So
yeah, well, that's good for that Tyler would step up and help you out like that. He's a good guy.
He'll do it better than me. I know it.
Right on.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always better when someone else does it. It's like magic. Woo!
Well, there's that. I mean, you drop it off and pick it up, but at the same time, he's a zillion times more of a mechanic than I am. So, let's just get it done right. Yeah. Which is not to say that I won't be giving him some guidance on how I want the brakes done.
Just leave him alone.
A few things.
Just leave him alone. Well, don't seagull him.
It's an aluminum drum car, so the brakes got to be set properly and all that stuff, because you can't.
He knows what he's doing. Tyler, I'm going to bat for you. He knows what he's doing. Leave the kid alone.
Yeah, he does. It's true. All right. Well, listen, Mr. Trivia Question.
Yes, sir.
Let's see. Your question to me, I don't remember. What was it?
My question to you was...
It was about a TV show.
A TV... Yeah, we've heard of cable TV.
Right.
But what is a TV cable?
Right.
And you so eloquently said that it is a cable that runs from your auto overdrive transmission to your throttle body, and it is used to adjust line pressures at varying throttle rates and all that good stuff.
Right.
And you know damn right you're right. So congratulations. You are correct, sir.
Well, I stand by that, and good thing, because it's one of the few things that I knew.
I knew you'd know it. I just wanted to throw it out there for the rest of the people who may not.
Yeah, right on. That's why they call it trivia.
Exactly.
Well, my question to you was, driving this 79 Pontiac Firebird Formula, I noticed a badge on the dash that said RTS. What does that mean? And I gave you the option to tell me what it meant and what cars it came on.
Mm-hmm.
And you chose both. So you said that it stands for radial tuned suspension, which meant that the suspension was designed to run straight, true, and compliant with radial tire cars. And that's true. Absolutely. You got that right.
Woo!
And you had a 76 Le Mans wagon, which I never knew you had one of those.
Oh, yeah. It's a great car. I loved it.
Yeah. That was yours or your family car?
It was my stepmom's. And then when she got a new car, I got the Le Mans when I was in high school.
Was it brown?
It was blue.
Oh.
It was like, it was beautiful shade of blue with the wood grain going down the side.
Oh, no
below
kidding.
The belt line of the door, yeah.
And in 76, did it have taillights in the bumper?
No. Did not have taillights in the bumper.
Huh, interesting.
I believe they were above the bumper.
I'm thinking maybe of the Malibu that had the taillights in the bumper.
I'd have to think again, but I don't think they were in the bumper.
Yeah. Big piece of glass, rear window.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Rear hatch that popped up. It was it wasn't the full size. It was
right.
the A body.
Yep.
But it was a great car, 400 2-barrel. I drove it like it was a Corvette.
Of course you did. Why wouldn't you?
I beat the snot out of it, man. I ended up blowing the transmission, and when my dad wanted us to drive it to the transmission shop, I had to floor it just to going 55 on the expressway. I got it there, and it had a cracked piston, and it was just making all kinds of noise. They ended up replacing the transmission, and a few hundred miles later, the whole connecting rod just blew apart.
Nice.
Blew a hole in the pan.
Good work.
It was horrible. Oh yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
He was mad at me twice on that one.
I bet.
Yeah.
Well, that was the little brother to the clamshell wagon.
Mm-hmm.
The clamshell wagons those things are hot.
Oh, yeah.
That's where the rear gate disappears underneath the floor and the rear window goes up into the roof.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, those are cool. There's a great clamshell wagon Facebook group that you should check out.
Is it? Okay.
I've been a member for a while, yeah.
I will check it out.
Yeah, right on. So your 76 Le Mans wagon had a badge on the dash above the column that said radial tuned suspension, and also did your 77 Formula.
Yes, it did.
So the little bit of research I found is that 1971 through 1981 Pontiacs had that badge if you ordered radial tires, because they were an option.
Mm-hmm.
And it provided a different spring, a different shock. And on the Firebird, like I was driving, it included a rear sway bar, because the radial tire allowed to have a stiffer suspension, but still provide a comfortable enough ride because of the tire design over a bias ply. So pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a weird feature that became a marketing thing.
Yeah, right.
The same way you see cars from the 80s that have a badge on the back that say fuel injection.
Yeah.
Or to your point, the Fords that had, like a Ford Fairmont that had automatic overdrive stickers in the window. And today it's like, yeah, well, why the hell wouldn't it?
Yeah. How dare you not have that?
It's like a sticker that says paint. Windows.
That's about right.
Steering wheel equipped.
4 complete wheels.
Yes, right on. All right, so we both win. Yay!
Yay, right on. That doesn't happen that often.
No, but we're in drastic times, so
yeah, man.
Calls for easier questions.
I appreciate the softball. I really do.
Yeah, I don't really want to think too hard about this one myself.
All right, good deal.
All right, man. Well, this was a lot of fun. Nice diversion from the craziness of the world.
Amen.
If you enjoy listening to the show, you can find us on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, Google Play, Google Podcasts, the Stitcher Radio app, iHeartRadio, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser. Of course, you can find us on our Facebook page and also on varadio.com and a few others, I believe, which is pretty cool. And we encourage you to subscribe. You know what? Check all of those different apps and find the one that is the least annoying to use and then subscribe to it. That's what I recommend.
Great advice.
Yeah, well, I do what I can.
Yeah, man.
All right. Well, I'm Kevin Ostie, and for Mr. Mike Cubaugh Clark, we advise you to keep the shiny side up, and we will see you next time on VA Radio.